The thick smoke made me cough so hard it felt like my lungs were tearing apart, and the scorching heat almost melted me. In the blur, I saw someone rushing over anxiously. "Mira, are you okay? Stay awake." It was my firefighter husband, Ethan. Seeing him, my heart immediately felt at ease. I was saved. But Ethan didn't take me out right away. Instead, he looked around. He asked me, "Have you seen Lena? She just texted me, saying she's trapped here too." Before I could speak, Lena's weak call came from downstairs. "Ethan, is that you?" Ethan didn't hesitate to pull his hand away and turn to leave. My heart suddenly sank, and I quickly called out, "Ethan, Ethan comforted me. "Mira, you're my wife, you should understand me better. Lena has had weak lungs since she was a child, I have to save her first. My colleagues are still behind, they will come to rescue you." He rushed anxiously in the direction where Lena was, not noticing me collapsing to the ground behind him. In the chaos just now, I accidentally fell and inhaled a lot of thick smoke. Burning pain spread through my nostrils, throat, and even lungs. My vision began to blur, and my limbs grew weak. Ethan, my husband. When he first pursued me, he solemnly promised me, "Mira, I will protect you for life." We have been together for 4 years, married for 2. 6 years of love, only to be abandoned by him at the moment of life and death to save his childhood friend. Ethan, what exactly did I do wrong? As consciousness faded, a familiar voice came to my ears. "Everything is normal on the east side of the second floor in Zone T. Mira, how are you here? Why did no one report survivors here? Come with me quickly, this place is about to collapse." I recognized the fully equipped firefighter in front of me as Ethan's colleague Gavin and was about to hand over my hand to him. Looking up, my pupils suddenly contracted. The ceiling was falling down. Instinct was faster than reason. I used the last bit of strength to push Gavin out. A sharp pain came from my head. I was forever buried under the rubble. Bang, the dull sound of the ceiling collapsing seemed to still echo in my ears. My soul began to rise. Looking at Gavin sitting on the ground, staring at me buried under the rubble, he was completely stunned. He muttered to himself, "Just a little more." It was clearly just a little more. Crash. There was no time for him to be sad. The scene began to collapse. Gavin quickly got up and rushed outside. I clearly saw him trying to wipe away the tears under his protective mask, and for a moment, I felt a bit guilty. "I'm sorry, Gavin. I hope this won't leave you with any psychological scars." I floated upward and drifted outside the fire scene, just in time to see Ethan carrying Lena out. "Quick, save her." The paramedic rushed forward and placed Lena on a stretcher. Her left leg was covered with horrifying wounds. Ethan immediately applied to the captain for a shift change to stay by my side, removing his protective mask to reveal his handsome face. My soul floated in midair, following right behind him. Among the onlookers, 2 girls were whispering while staring at Ethan, repeatedly saying things like "so handsome" and "can I get his contact info?" I showed a bitter smile. When Ethan first pursued me, I was also initially attracted by his face. But the real reason we were together was because of how good he was to me. We got married right after I graduated from college. Unexpectedly, not long after we got married, his childhood friend came back from abroad and started clinging to him relentlessly. Ethan told me he only saw Lena as a sister, and that the one he truly loved from beginning to end was only me. But today, reality slapped me hard in the face. I said coldly in Ethan's ear, "Ethan, is this what you meant by only seeing her as a sister?" Ethan didn't hear my sarcasm, he was fully focused on supporting Lena. The nurse was treating Lena's wound. The damaged skin was covered with dust and debris, a shocking sight. To clean it, the debris had to be picked off, pulling at the wound. Each time, Lena would let out a sharp hiss, pursing her lips in distress, tears welling up as she looked at Ethan. Ethan scratched his head anxiously and spoke somewhat harshly, "Nurse, could you be a bit gentler? Look how much it hurts her." The nurse glared at him, "Are you the doctor or am I?" If the patient's wound is not treated promptly, infection can easily occur. Ethan was left speechless by the scolding. He had no choice but to bend down, let Lena hold his hand, and gently comfort her. "Don't cry, Lena, it will be cleaned up soon." Those unaware might think Lena was some fragile doll. At that moment, someone on the scene shouted, "Look, the building is collapsing." Everyone looked up. The huge building was reduced to ruins in an instant, and the scorching flames forced the crowd to retreat repeatedly. I sighed. Well, this time there's no chance of surviving intact. Just as I was lamenting, Ethan suddenly turned pale and grabbed his colleague Noah beside him. He had just come down from the fire scene and hadn't had time to catch his breath when he heard Ethan anxiously ask, "Where is he?" Noah scratched his head. "Ethan, are you talking about sister-in-law?" According to reports from the various teams, there are currently no casualties among the civilians. Sister-in-law may have been transferred to another hospital. I was a bit surprised. I'm not sure about the others, but I was definitely buried in the fire scene. If no casualties were reported, it can only mean that Gavin, the only one who found me, got into trouble. I really wanted to ask about Gavin's condition, but I forgot that at this moment I was in a soul state. I had just encountered Noah and passed right through him. So I pinned my hopes on Ethan. After all, he always told me that every colleague in the fire department was like a brother to him, and they cared for each other. With such a big fire, he definitely wouldn't ignore it. But unexpectedly, Ethan didn't even finish listening because Lena was being carried onto the ambulance. Ethan immediately jogged after it and blocked the closing ambulance door. "I'm a family member of the patient, let me go with you." Noah looked surprised. "Ethan, aren't you going to stay with your sister-in-law?" Ethan paused for a moment as he got into the car. Just when I thought he would ask Noah about me, I heard him scoff, "She's probably still angry about Lena right now. Going to her now is just asking for trouble. Don't bother with her." Noah opened his mouth, as if wanting to say something. But Ethan had already slammed the door shut with a bang. I was forced to stay by Ethan's side. Perhaps it was obsession at work, I couldn't leave within 10 meters of him. I had no choice but to watch him brush the stray hairs off Lena's forehead. The look of pain and care on his face made me involuntarily recall the time before we got married. Back then, I had no idea that Lena, this childhood friend, even existed. Ethan's gentleness and thoughtfulness were all given to me. During my period, I was tormented by pain, feeling like I was dying. Ethan was so worried that he didn't sleep all night, staying by my side, gently rubbing my stomach with his big hands, soothing me to sleep. In the scorching summer, I wanted to eat ice cream. Ethan had just gotten off work, hadn't even slept, and despite my protests, he bought some for me, telling me, "When you're with me, whatever you want to do or eat, you don't have to wait." I once leaned against my mother's tombstone and whispered to her, introducing Ethan. "Mom, don't worry about you and Dad, your daughter has found a good man. His name is Ethan, and he has proven with his actions that he really cares for me. I think, in the future, I will marry him." Thinking about it now, I really want to slap myself. How could anyone be a perfect boyfriend from the start? It's just that the predecessors trained him, and the successors enjoy the benefits. Now, Lena has returned from abroad, and Ethan's heart has already started to waver. I, their legal wife, have become a burden to them. If I die now, my place will be given to Lena. Truly the worst luck. Lena was sent to the hospital. The doctor worked tirelessly to treat and stitch the scar on her left hand. During this time, Ethan accompanied her the entire way. He fed her water, paid the fees, and collected the medicine. Even during the consultation, he insisted that the doctor perform a full-body check on Lena, citing that Lena had pneumonia before. As for Lena herself, she only needed to sit in the wheelchair and enjoy Ethan's care. Several onlooking family members gathered to discuss. "That man is really handsome, I want to introduce him to my daughter." "Don't even think about it, didn't you see he already has a girlfriend?" I tugged at the corner of my mouth. "Ethan, you always say you only see Lena as a little sister. The eyes of the crowd are sharp, if they mistake you for a couple, it means you've already crossed the line. How far are you going to keep deceiving yourself? By the time everything was done, it was already late at night. Lena, feeling concerned, wanted to gently touch Ethan's face. Ethan, you were busy fighting the fire yesterday, and you've been taking care of me all night. You've really worked hard. I feel so sorry for you. I was disgusted to the extreme. So I floated in front of Ethan and, imitating Lena's tone, said sarcastically, Ethan, I feel so sorry for you. Ethan avoided it. He ignored Lena's disappointed look, tucked her in, and found a reasonable excuse for himself. Lena, I'm your brother, it's only right that I treat you well. Only after watching Lena close her eyes did Ethan reluctantly leave the hospital room. He went to the corridor and opened his phone. Apart from messages from the fire department and colleagues, the chat between me and him was very quiet. The last message was my distress call, sent to him from the fire scene where I was trapped. He looked somewhat irritated. I was very confused. Shouldn't Ethan feel relieved that he couldn't receive my messages? After all, since Lena came back, Ethan often read my messages without replying and frequently complained that I was disturbing his work. Now, with this attitude, who was he trying to show it to? Ethan opened the chat window, hesitated for a long time, and seemed about to make a video call to me. Suddenly, Lena's scream came from the ward, Fire, it's all fire. Ethan, where are you? Don't leave Lena behind, I'm really scared. Ethan immediately put away his phone and rushed into the ward. Lena, what's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? Lena buried her face in Ethan's arms. This time, Ethan stiffened for a moment but did not push her away. Lena, like a wounded fawn, nestled in Ethan's embrace and whispered softly, Brother Ethan, actually, there's something I haven't told you. My injury was caused by Sister Mira. If the eyes of the soul could shoot lasers, I guarantee that not even a mosquito would survive in the hospital room right now. Lena vividly described to Ethan how I called her to the mall to warn her. After the fire alarm went off, how I deliberately pushed her aside. When the fire had fully spread, how I ignored her pleas and left her, burned and unable to move, alone in the fire scene. Ethan listened with a face ashen with anger. In the end, he slammed the table in fury and shouted, Mira is really too much. I knew she didn't like you, but I never expected her to be this vicious. Lena tugged his hand, a triumphant gleam flashing in her eyes, but on the surface, she gently comforted him, Brother Ethan, Sister Mira cares about you so much that she would do something like this. I don't mind suffering a little injustice, but please don't argue with her because of me. The more she said that, the angrier Ethan became. He took out his phone and immediately called me, saying as he dialed, this is a matter of principle. Even if we argue, I want her to apologize to you. Otherwise, she'll keep bullying you in the future. The phone kept ringing, but no matter how long he waited, there was no answer. Ethan's expression grew darker and darker. Mira rarely doesn't answer her phone unless she doesn't realize what she's done and feels guilty. I didn't expect her to become like this now. I'm really too disappointed in her. Ethan said, his face full of pain and indignation. Lena pretended to be understanding beside me, but in reality, she was adding fuel to the fire with her so-called comfort. I floated in midair, watching coldly. Today, I finally understood one truth: when a person is utterly speechless, they really can't help but laugh. After 6 years of relationship, Ethan never believed in my character. Instead, he believed Lena's full of holes lies. He didn't even bother to think carefully. If I had really provoked him and deliberately trapped Lena in the fire, I would have escaped long ago. But when Ethan found me, I was clearly upstairs. The one truly being persecuted was obviously me. After a busy day, Ethan's body finally gave out. He spent money to hire a caregiver for Lena, then pushed open the door home with a face full of hope. I was surprised. Could he really think I was at home? The house was naturally pitch dark. Ethan's expression instantly fell. He opened the fridge, seemingly hungry, ready to find something to eat. But what he saw was a pot of soup. It was lotus root and pork rib soup, cooling and heat-relieving, which I had cooked the day before the fire. I called him at that time. As soon as Ethan answered, he said he was busy and wanted to hang up. But I clearly heard Lena's voice. I questioned him. He was impatient. We had a big fight and ended on bad terms. At this moment, looking at that pot of soup, I suddenly remembered that the purpose of the call was not just to have Ethan come home to drink the soup. It was also to tell him something. Ethan finished heating the soup, placed it on the coffee table, and was about to take a piece of paper to use as a heat insulator. When he opened it, it was my ultrasound report. I am pregnant. Regarding the child, both sides share the same attitude. Ethan and I both deeply desire to have our own baby. This child was originally meant to be a surprise for him. But it will never be. I was very sad and instinctively touched my belly. It originally had the chance to see the world, but was abandoned by its father with his own hands. I'm sorry, baby. Ethan suddenly stood up, holding the ultrasound report, pacing around the house, muttering to himself, "Child, so that's what Mira was calling to tell me that day. I heard that women's emotions become very unstable during pregnancy. So it's normal for Mira to be jealous and go find Lena." He kept babbling on. "Once Mira comes back, as long as she apologizes to Lena, I'll forgive her." Listening to these words, I laughed loudly right next to Ethan's ear. Laughing and laughing, I almost wanted to cry. "Forget it, Ethan. You'll never have that chance." Ethan sent me a message. "Mira, I already know you're pregnant. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Stop being jealous and come home soon." Right after he sent the message, the hospital called. "Mr. Ethan, Miss Lena seems to be frightened and has been causing a scene at the hospital. We really can't calm her down. Her emergency contact is you. Could you please come over?" Ethan immediately got up and left. Before leaving, he sent me another message. "Lena has told me everything. I don't blame you. As long as you sincerely apologize to her, I can pretend nothing happened. Now Lena is hurt because of you, so I'm going to the hospital to take care of her. She has a timid personality and is easily bullied. I rolled my eyes and really wanted to sincerely advise Ethan to get an eye exam when he goes to the hospital. Otherwise, how could he think Lena has a timid personality? Just after sending the message, Ethan's phone rang again. This time, the call was from my best friend Riley. She has always been feisty. In front of me, she looked down on Ethan. Riley's classic saying is, "Unless I were a man, no one in this world deserves you." During this call, her tone was very low. "Ethan, I can't reach Mira anymore. Is she okay? Don't blame me for being nosy. You're already married. Can you have some boundaries? Lena clearly isn't a good woman." Ethan's expression turned cold, and his words were blunt. "Riley, this is none of your business. Don't think I don't know. You're the one stirring things up behind my back between Mira and me." He hung up the phone. I angrily threw 2 punches at him in the air, but it was to no avail. Unlike what Ethan imagined, every argument happened because I felt disappointed. Riley often tried to mediate instead. She said, "It's not easy for 2 people to truly be together, Mira. Sometimes you have to understand him too." This time, Riley couldn't help but look for him, and there was a reason for it. After hearing Lena's voice that day, Riley stayed by my side. She had just found out I was pregnant and discovered Ethan was entangled with Lena. Anyone would be angry to know that. Moreover, she kept insisting on being my child's godmother. Thinking about it, I felt a bit worried. She and I grew up together, and if she found out I was dead, she would probably go crazy. Thinking of this, my hatred for Ethan grew even stronger. But he didn't know. At this very moment, he is in the ward feeding Lena porridge. Yet I can hear the nurse complaining in the corridor, "Is this patient a master of changing faces?" I gave her an injection, which naturally hurts, but she insisted on complaining about me. When changing the dressing, she said I wasn't as meticulous as her boyfriend and demanded that her boyfriend come. To be honest, I think she's very pretentious. I cross my arms and sigh helplessly. The person involved is confused, but the onlooker sees clearly. Even the nurse can see what kind of person Lena is, yet Ethan treats her like a treasure. On the morning of the third day, no news of my death had come through. I was a bit worried. Was Gavin seriously injured? Previously, Ethan said that among their fire brigade, Gavin's family was the poorest. His mother was seriously ill, his father had broken his leg, and his wife had just given birth. In these past 2 years, thanks to Gavin's hard work, they had finally managed to buy a house. Please don't let anything happen to the pillar of this family. Just as I was thinking this, Ethan's phone suddenly rang. It was Noah. His voice sounded heavy. Ethan, when Gavin came out of the fire earlier, he was hit on the head by rebar and just woke up. He's been insisting on seeing you. No matter who asks him, he won't say why. Hearing this, I breathed a sigh of relief. Ethan didn't understand but still nodded. It's okay, I'll go over right away. Before hanging up, Noah asked again, Ethan, are you still having a cold war with your sister-in-law? I think Lena really isn't as good as your sister-in-law. You're already married, so just live your life well. Isn't it inappropriate to treat your sister-in-law like that? Ethan's expression darkened. You don't understand, Mira isn't as good as she seems on the surface. Forget it, we'll talk about it later. Ethan hurriedly rushed to the ward where Gavin was. A 1.85-meter tall man, with bandages wrapped around his head and a burned scar on his left cheek. But other than that, he was intact, no missing arms or legs. I breathed a sigh of relief. If he really risked his life in the fire to save me, or ended up permanently disabled. Even if I died, I wouldn't be at ease. Gavin saw Ethan and slowly came back to his senses. Everyone held their breath, waiting for Gavin to speak. He stared at Ethan, tears bursting from his eyes, his lips moved twice, and finally he managed to say, Ethan, I saw Mira in the fire. Ethan was confused but still apologized. Thank you, Gavin. Another day, I'll have Mira make a pot of good soup and come specially to thank you. This sentence directly struck a nerve with Gavin. He stood up, ignoring the people around him, and suddenly knelt down on the ground. Then, he kowtowed 3 times in quick succession. Ethan panicked. He and Noah stood on either side, trying to help Gavin up, repeatedly shouting, Gavin, what are you doing? The next second, everyone was stunned. Gavin knelt on the ground, despairingly covering his face with his hands, a hoarse roar escaping from between his fingers, but I couldn't get her out. Ethan's expression froze instantly. There was disbelief. Denial. And even more, panic and fear. His hand, which had originally reached out to support Gavin, slowly withdrew, and he staggered back 2 steps. Then, he forced a faint, bitter smile. Gavin, are you joking with me? Didn't the fire department say that no one died in this fire? I even specifically asked Noah. Are you under too much pressure and imagining things? Gavin clenched his fists, not replying to Ethan, but directly recounted what happened when he saw me. When I saw Mira, she was barely hanging on. The ward was deathly silent. As soon as I saw her, I knew she had inhaled too much thick smoke and couldn't even stand steady. Originally, I wanted to carry her out. But when she reached out, the ceiling above her fell. At this point, Gavin's emotions completely broke down. But he still persisted, gritting his teeth, explaining everything word by word. I was just about to grab her hand. Just a little bit more, but she pushed me away. I survived, but she was forever trapped under the fallen ceiling and couldn't get out. Ethan, I'm sorry to Mira, I'm sorry to you. At the end, Gavin broke down in tears. I silently bent down, and even though I knew he couldn't sense my presence, I still patted his shoulder. Softly, I said, Gavin, I don't blame you. He had the courage to rush into the fire to save people, which was already commendable. It's really not his fault that he couldn't save me. But Ethan seemed frozen in place, glancing down at his phone. The screen was still on the chat window between me and him. Ethan suddenly asked, what time was it when you saw her? 3:03. Ethan's pupils suddenly dilated, and a trembling voice came from his mouth as he fell to his knees. Noah was so frightened that he reached out to support him. Ethan, calm down. Ethan suddenly burst into tears, holding tightly onto Noah's arm, his expression filled with unbearable grief. It's my fault she died, it's my fault she died. I know why Ethan said that. Because he abandoned me to save Lena. The quartz clock in the mall struck the hour. 3 o'clock. In less than 3 minutes, I would leave this world forever. In his extreme sorrow, Ethan blurted out the fact that he saw me first but went to save Lena instead. Everyone's gaze changed. Even his colleagues looked at Ethan with contempt. He abandoned his own wife and went to save his so-called childhood sweetheart. And these past few days, he had been staying by the childhood sweetheart's side. He didn't even know his own wife had died. The nurse who just came in to change Gavin's dressing had been tormented by Lena quite a bit before. Hearing Ethan's words, she sneered. What childhood sweetheart? A mistress is a mistress, don't sugarcoat it. Abandoning your wife in a fire for a mistress, and still calling yourself a firefighter, it's truly disgusting. Ethan was severely injured and fainted on the spot. Colleagues from the fire brigade called a doctor to perform emergency treatment on him. Ethan slowly regained consciousness. But strangely, no matter who spoke to him, he remained silent. He tightly clutched the ultrasound report in his hand. I sat with my legs crossed on the empty chair beside him, watching Ethan very coldly. Who was he putting on this act for? What a nuisance. Gavin saw me for only a few seconds and immediately judged that I had inhaled too much smoke and was in poor condition. He stayed in front of me for at least a minute. If he had even briefly paid attention to my condition during that minute, he wouldn't have let me die in the fire. But what did he do? As soon as he heard the cries for help from his childhood friend Lena, he couldn't wait and rushed out immediately. As for me, his legitimate wife? It's fine, it's fine. There will be a second team of colleagues entering the fire to rescue. He placed all his hopes on others, which ultimately led to the death of both me and the child in my womb in the fire. As a firefighter, he was biased and unprofessional. As a husband, he abandoned his wife and child, emotionally cheating. As a father, he is a beast. He crushed the only hope for the child's birth, yet at this moment, he started to feign regret. Just as I was furiously pointing at Ethan's nose and cursing, a familiar figure walked in from outside the door. It was Lena. Her hand was wrapped in bandages, and she was weakly leaning against the wall. After entering the ward, she collapsed beside Ethan's bed and held his hand. Brother Ethan, I know everything. Don't be sad, none of us wanted to hear such news. This time, Ethan ignored Lena's voice, forcefully pried her hand away, sat up from the bed, and stared at her with a deep gaze, asking, Lena, be honest. Was the injury on your left leg really caused by Mira pushing you down? Lena was somewhat at a loss. I clearly saw a flicker of guilt in her eyes, but she still answered firmly, yes. Ethan lay back down again, his face despondent. Lena seemed to develop a sense of crisis, worried that Ethan wouldn't believe her, and continued to exaggerate the facts. You have no idea how scared I was at that time. Sister Mira threw herself at me like she had no regard for her life, grabbing me and pulling me aside. She couldn't finish her sentence. Because Ethan sneered and interrupted her, like she had no regard for her life? Lena, I believe you unconditionally, so why would you lie to me? Lena heard Ethan's doubt and was very angry. Ethan, on what basis do you not believe me? We've grown up together, all these years of childhood friendship, could it really be less than Mira? Ethan threw the ultrasound report in her face. On what grounds? Because Mira is pregnant. She loves children just like I do, there's no way she would endanger the child just to bully you. Lena, how long do you plan to keep deceiving me? I watched the drama unfold beside them. Honestly, Lena's tactics were really clever. If it weren't for my pregnancy and dying in the fire. Unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. Even so, Lena didn't give up on pretending. Holding the ultrasound report, she said with a disappointed face, Brother Ethan, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lie to you. I just like you so much. I finally returned to the country, only to find out you were already married. How am I supposed to accept that? Ethan tightly closed his eyes. Lena, from beginning to end, I have always regarded you as my sister. Lena took 2 steps back, her face full of mockery. Heh, little sister? Ethan, you can lie to others, but don't lie to yourself. Do you dare swear that your heart has never wavered? Ethan was silent for a moment. Although I despised Lena for destroying my family, I still had to admit that she had precisely hit Ethan's weak spot. It also made me realize, this man I've been with for 6 years can't even admit to an emotional affair. What a coward. I became the only casualty in this fire. So, when clearing the debris at the scene, the rescue team quickly found my remains through DNA comparison and the clothes left behind. I was somewhat lucky to have 2 pieces of bone left. The rescue team carefully collected my remains and placed them into a small box. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot as he cried out in pain. Mira, I'm sorry. Lena came over as well. Even though they had argued, she still seemed unwilling to give up on Ethan. In front of everyone, she cried while handing Ethan a tissue. When the rescue workers handed over the urn, Ethan was about to leave. Someone was faster than him. A woman in a professional suit, wearing high heels and heavy makeup, rushed in. Slap, slap, 2 slaps left Ethan's face swollen. It was my best friend Riley. Always meticulous, she now had tear-streaked cheeks, smeared eye makeup, and messy hair. Yet she still pointed at Ethan's nose and cursed him harshly. You despicable man, go to hell. Ethan, how can you still have the face to cry here? When we got married, how did you promise me? That you would never leave Mira, would protect her, cherish her, and let her be a little princess forever. And what happened? Mira has no mom or dad, she only has you. You bullied her for some mistress, even left her to burn alive in the fire. Ethan, Mira is your wife, and she's carrying your child. How can you do this? Are you even human? I have to say, Riley's rant here is a direct outpouring of her feelings. Even though I'm already dead, I still feel my milk ducts are clear and my mind refreshed. It's just that I'm very sad again. She looks tough on the surface, cursing Ethan so fiercely. But the most heartbroken, the one who has been hurt the longest, besides her, there is no second person like that in this world. Ethan stood still, like a punching bag, willingly taking hits from Riley. Noah stepped up to stop him. Saying he stopped him was more like just watching, making it easier and less effort for Riley to hit. The onlookers nearby, some who knew the inside story, couldn't help but point and whisper, "Isn't he the handsome firefighter my daughter talked about? What's the use of being handsome? I heard he left his own wife at the fire scene and went to save his mistress first. Not only that, I heard he didn't even know his wife died these past few days and has been taking care of his mistress in the hospital. That must be his mistress, right? I felt something was off as soon as she appeared, looking like a fox spirit from the 9 Beauties. Lena couldn't stand it. She was called a mistress and felt upset, just about to open her mouth to refute. After slapping Ethan, Riley immediately slapped Lena. Almost forgot about you. Lena, what kind of good woman are you? You hooked up with a second-generation rich kid and took Ethan away. Now that your reputation abroad is completely ruined, you want to come back looking for Ethan? Ethan looked utterly incredulous. Looking at the pure-faced Lena, no matter how disappointed he was in her, it was hard to associate her with Riley. Riley then took a USB drive from her bag and slammed it hard onto Lena's face. Stop slandering Mira. I checked the surveillance footage. That day, Mira was actually able to run with the crowd, but you suddenly tripped her. Also, Mira wouldn't have been here today if you hadn't photoshopped intimate pictures of yourself and Ethan to provoke her. You murderer. Ethan asked desperately, Lena, haven't I treated you well? Why do you want to harm me like this? Lena, having her true colors exposed, stopped pretending. She grabbed her Gucci bag and sneered coldly. Why? Ethan, if you really don't like me at all, you could have just rejected me directly. You said you see me as a sister. Are you talking about a real sister or a mistress-type sister? Now that Mira is dead, you still want to push all the blame onto me? Don't you have any fault at all? Ethan sat in place, crying and laughing, like he was crazy. He covered his face and whispered, "What have I done?" My funeral was ultimately arranged by Riley. She spent a lot of money to find me the best cemetery. She also hired monks to perform rituals for me and invited my former teachers and classmates to attend. She did not invite Ethan. Although Ethan shamelessly showed up, perhaps afraid of getting beaten, he only dared to stand far away and cry. At the final burial, Riley held the tombstone and cried very sadly. I gently bent down. Her snot and tears all dripped into her mouth, and she kept mumbling, "Mira, how can you be so heartless? Didn't we agree that I would be the godmother of your child, and you would be the godmother of mine? Now you've left me, who will be the godmother of my child?" Her tears dripped one by one through my transparent arm. There was no sensation at all, but they fell to the ground and wet the soil. Ethan murmured, "Wife, I'm sorry, it's my fault that you died. I accept your apology. But Ethan, I will never forgive you." On the day of the incident, some bystanders recorded a video and posted it online, and Ethan became completely infamous. His glorious deeds even made it to the trending searches. Many people cursed him and Lena. Several waves of enthusiastic citizens even dug up their addresses to throw rotten eggs at their homes in order to seek justice for me. The fire department was also affected. Ethan was severely punished within the fire department, and the Brave Firefighter title that should have belonged to him this year was revoked. There was even more undercurrent among colleagues. Even without direct accusations, they were all pointing fingers at him behind his back. Especially Gavin. Always loving his wife, he directly announced that he was cutting ties with Ethan and harshly condemned him for not being a real man. Ethan couldn't hold his head up anywhere. Until another fire broke out. The fire alarm rang, and the fire brigade where Ethan was stationed geared up fully and set off quickly. I followed by his side. Along the way, he kept murmuring to himself, "I have to save people. This time I will save everyone." But the moment he saw the fire scene, saw the raging inferno, he broke down. His strong and powerful hands couldn't even hold the hose, his body kneeling on the ground, convulsing uncontrollably. The colleagues behind urged him, "Hurry up and go." Ethan gritted his teeth and forced himself to stand up, trying to rush inside. But when he felt the scorching wave of fire, he broke down once again. "I can't do it. Please, I really can't do it. I can't save from the fire." I looked at his disheveled appearance, fully understanding in my heart. The fire that caused my death was proof of his negligence, a judgment on his unfaithfulness. It would become a lifelong torment for him. Soon, Ethan was forced to retire. Because he had gone mad. In the middle of the night, whenever a siren sounded outside the window, he would shout loudly, "Fire," causing panic among people. On the road, when he saw a pregnant woman, he would suddenly rush forward, hug her, and shout, "Wife." Because of these things, he got beaten up quite a few times. Until one night, in an extremely weak state, he saw me. Like a lifeline, he knelt on the ground and begged me, "Mira, have you forgiven me?" Seeing his scruffy beard, he looked completely different from the image I had of him. I shook my head. "Ethan, I will never forgive you. I want you to live a life full of guilt and regret, never able to escape rebirth.